Okay, I was over here working with this dough, which I've been just kind of stretching, and I thought, well, I should put this on a video so you can see. This was the dough ball that was in the water soaking, and I started just pulling on it, and it's rather a large disc that's just kind of folded up on itself because I've been stretching it. I wanted to show you, how stretchy it is. And um, this just kind of gives it lots of surface area. This is my own technique. I don't see anybody else doing it like this, but I just enjoy doing it this way because it's fun. Why not make cooking fun? Doesn't have to be all work and no play. Now, I tried something different, and that's an onion, a dried onion, and I'm pulling them out. I poured the water off at the beginning that had the cloves and just well, I would say like a tablespoon or two of the dried onions. Well, when they're in water, they become like 5, 6 times their, maybe 10 times their size. I'd say 5 to 10 times their size. So they're little chunks now, and I guess that won't bother the texture. Depending on, probably gonna make burger out of this. Although I'm very interested in making the carrot burger, and I may do that too, and then mix them together. Because I still think that it would be nice to have. I like the gluten burger, but and I'm calling it wheat meat, just because everybody seems to want to stay away from gluten, and I'm not trying to pretend that this isn't gluten, but I just think that gluten has gotten such a bad rap, and people have just kind of been mad at it for so long, and I grew up with it. I do not have any problem with gluten. So I'm going to call it wheat meat because, like I said, the name has just taken on so much criticism. And not everybody is sensitive to gluten, so, but I quite thrive on it, and it's high protein. Um, I, I read a research article, or I should say an article based on the research that has, and I don't remember any details, but here's just the nutshell of what I read. If your parent is vegetarian, or let's say they're on just a special diet of any kind, like low sugar, low fat, whatever, or high sugar or high fat, the baby that the mother carries while she's on that diet, it is picking up a lot of survival. It's like it its body's being designed to help it survive in the conditions that the mother is putting her body in. Let's say if she has a high calorie diet or a low calorie diet, then the baby's being designed to flourish in a situation like the mother. So, that's smart, really, because if the mother is going to be vegetarian or eat a low calorie diet, then the baby inside her needs to learn how to conserve calories, because otherwise it would not be able to sustain itself. So, if your mother ate a certain way, they're questioning the validity or the soundness of drastically changing how you were raised to eat, especially if you have diabetes or something like that. And you can say, well, your body was designed to conserve these calories, or like, if you're obese, or it can help explain why your metabolism is performing like it is. If it's not used to, if the mother was eating a certain way and then you go and eat the opposite way, it can really work against you. So I kind of wondered about that because, for 2 generations, nobody ate meat in my family, my grandmother nor my mother. And so if I try to eat meat, I'm just wondering, is my body designed to handle it efficiently? So both of my grandmother and my mother, they ate these wheat protein foods. Not in huge abundance, but they ate them regularly. And so probably my body is kind of designed to handle that, is what I'm thinking. And those of you whose parents did not eat a lot of that, well, probably not designed to handle it. So everyone has to decide for themselves. It's not a one size fits all dietary. Okay, so you see how milky this is getting? I'd say it's like whole milk, or I don't know, 2%. You could sit here and just make this get really like cream almost. And that's what I'm going to do because I'm going to save out some of the wheat starch. So that what you have with flour is you have starch and you have protein. And it separates. This glob right here is the protein. And there's still some starch in it because as you can tell, you'll be able to see a delineation. Right now there's so much starch left in it that you're not really able to see the delineation. The starch is whiter. I'm trying to move my phone. The starch is whiter in appearance than the protein. The protein is a little darker. Okay. And when just think of a cow eating in the pasture. If a cow is eating grass or grains, grasses they go to seed. So, even if they're not grain fed, even if they're grass fed, they're still getting some seeds. I was looking today and there's amaranth that grows, and people have learned how to, I don't know how long this has been going on, but they pop it like popcorn. So every plant goes to seed. So, if you eat the plant, if the cow eats the plant in the seed form, whether it be in the blade or the seed, what they eat is actually building their muscles. Cows don't eat meat, so how are they able to build those muscles? Well, it's through the grain or the grass. And that's exactly this is what the makeup of this wheat has, the molecular structures to form striations, or bond it. These strands, they can line up, and I'll show you later how we can form the dough and tie knots, and it'll help the protein strands to line up and to become stronger and organized. And that's what makes it mimic wheat. I mean, it makes it mimic meat. Well, you're basically repeating or mimicking what the body does inside of the cow. It adds to the muscle fibers. And that's how vegetarian animals can become huge, like an ox, or an elephant. Elephants are vegetarians. They eat lots of vegetables. And they're huge. And they're strong. Okay, now, as this loses a lot of the starch, the protein strands become less organized because you're pulling out a lot of the contents, and it's having to reorganize itself. So it will, at some point, kind of seem like it's falling apart, but it isn't. It's just you're having to those strands are letting go of the starch, and it leaves holes. So as you keep nudging or encouraging just by kind of pulling on it and letting the water. Now, every time I feel a lump of onion, I'm pulling it out because, Well, somehow that didn't work. Okay, but most of the onion is gone now. And it won't matter if a few of them get left in there. I was thinking maybe I could get a head start on flavoring it, but I don't know how that's going to work. And also as a preservative, since I leave it on the counter, I added some cloves and some dried onion as a preservative to kind of keep, because those are natural antibiotics. So I don't want this to get like a sourdough quality. That makes it lose its strength, in my opinion. I don't quote me on that, but it seems to soften it if you let it get fermented. Of course, it's easier to digest, and so a little tiny bit of fermentation, no big deal. But you don't want a lot of that because it will weaken the strands. Okay. Although sometimes you do want some of that, because my last wheat meat that I made it into links, and my family loved it. Oh, they raved about it. It was the best they'd ever had. Better than the store-bought brands. And I honestly was critiquing it, thinking that it was too tough. But the more starch that gets left in, the less rubbery it will be. So far, I haven't managed to keep enough starch in to really change that. So, okay, you see this is like cream, like half and half almost. Not quite, but it's definitely whole milk quality. Okay, when I get it almost like cream, I'm going to save it, and I will make bacon, not real bacon, but I'm gonna figure out a name for mine. So my son calls it fakin' bacon. And I've got it. You can go back in my this page, scroll back and see where I've shared it. But I'll share it again. I've got some changes I'm going to make this next time. Okay, well, I think I will stop the camera now because I'm going to have to use 2 hands to pour this starch water off and put it in a container to save it. I may freeze it because last time I put it in the refrigerator and I wasn't able to get to it quick enough, so I'll just freeze it. First, I will let it reduce. I will let it drain to the bottom and pour off the clear water, and then I will take a much thicker version and put it in a Ziploc and freeze it. And then I will be able... I haven't ever frozen it before. I doubt it will change anything, but you never know. Sometimes freezing can change things, but hey, it might be a happy accident. You never know. Alrighty, I'm going to sign off. And now you've seen what the wheat protein dough looks like when it's in the beginning stages of the washing. Okay? I'd say we're about half through. But like I said, I didn't change my water because I want this to have lots of starch in it. And this is the only starch water that I will save. So I won't have tons of water. It'll be mostly starch. That's why I'm letting it get so thick and creamy. Okay? All right. See you later.